concept of 15-minute cities. And that concept has been around and making news around the world as we get these authoritarian-minded city planners and urbanists pushing this plan in the developed world. Now, the notion of 15-minute cities isn't new. And ideologically driven bureaucrats and politicians have been trying to implement this sort of thing for quite some time now. With the World Economic Forum, though, jumping on and promoting the conception, people are finally sounding the alarm bells on the concept, and they should. Now, no, we're not going to see walled World War II-style ghettos being erected in cities, as some alarmists have been claiming, or existing neighborhoods aren't going to be bulldozed to create packed, roadless communities either. But the 15-minute city plans, they're more subtle, and they'll typically be implemented incrementally. Cities embracing the plan will cause those significant economic and social damage as they try to create impossible urban utopias, and adherence to the ideology will become ever more forceful as citizens reject these plans. So what are these 15-minute cities anyways? Well, a 15-minute city is a planned community where any and all services can be reached through walking or bicycling within 15 minutes or less. A simple and nice sounding concept on the surface for those who don't like the idea of traveling and I guess who are in good enough shape to get around. The problem is the whole concept's a pile of unworkable, idealistic hogwash, particularly in North America. I mean, to make a 15-minute city viable, the urban density has to be far higher than pretty much any city in North America offers. Having employment, schools, groceries, entertainment, and government services all available within a 15-minute walk or bicycle ride means packing a whole lot of people into a small area to sustain those services. And while proponents like to point to some trendy communities and cities that are packed with restaurants and stores and services within walking distance, these communities also have extremely expensive real estate, and the small specialty stores and services charge high prices to maintain themselves. Cost of living is challenging enough for people already. Whether you like them or not, big box stores help keep necessities affordable for people. So love or hate retailers like Walmart, Superstore, and Home Depot, it can't be denied they keep their prices low due to their size and taking advantage of economies of scale. Now, how many of those big box stores would it take to be within a 15-minute walk or bike ride in every part of the city? Likewise, the government services can't be everywhere. Government services are expensive and inefficient enough as it is. So how would you like to have a passport office every 10 blocks or so? Come on, guys, this isn't reasonable. Now, if some of the proponents like to point to cities like Paris and Shanghai and New York as examples to follow, well, all of these cities, for one thing, I mean, some of them are ancient. The other thing is they're already high-density environments. And then look at the cost of living. What's it cost to rent an apartment in Manhattan these days if you can afford to even find one? What, $6,000, $7,000 a month? Come on. Most North American cities as well have 6-month winters where walking and bicycling can be uncomfortable, if not impossible. Imagine how it would be for seniors. But density zealots, they ignore that reality. The biggest obstacle for those who want to see 15-minute cities, though, is consumer demand. People just don't want to live in them, especially after a pandemic that drove people into working from home and living in the suburbs. And that's what ends up driving the authoritarian streak. And that's when it gets dangerous. If people don't want to live in high-density ghettos, then, well, they'll need to be encouraged, right? That encouragement, of course, usually comes in the form of taxing or penalizing and demonizing people living in suburbs or driving automobiles. Progressively run cities are pursuing charters and legislation to reach out and force density standards on neighboring communities. They won't block people from leaving, but they want to create a regulatory form of an iron curtain to make sure that if people leave, they won't find life any better anywhere else. The goal of 15-minute cities isn't to make the world a greener place or to pursue some kind of societal equity, though, of course, that's what they always like to claim. No, the goal is control. That's why the World Economic Forum likes it. The main enemy for authoritarians in this thing is the personal automobile. It empowers individuals and allows them to escape urban living. Residents locked into high-density communities who are dependent on public transit are under the thumb of the state. It's easy to control people when you can control their ability to move. That's why 15-minute cities hold such appeal for authoritarians with the WEF. Just think of how effective a social credit policy of citizen control could be if citizens are completely dependent on the state for their movement. Cashless, carless, and living in a crammed enclave, citizens would truly live by the whim of the state. A nightmare for free-thinking individuals, but a wet dream for elitist authoritarians who envision themselves, of course, at the top of the pile. Of course, as with every social paradise, the political elites won't live among the masses in those ghettos. I mean, you don't need to look at the way things turned out in the Soviet Union and how that all ironed out. You know, long row houses where the political elite, though, lived outside of the city in some nice acreages. The 15-minute cities will fail, but the ideologues pushing those concepts could push us all to the brink of bankruptcy and trying to make them work. The only question is how far are we going to let them go before we push back? How long will we keep electing progressive adherents to the WEF agenda and putting them into positions of municipal leadership. Yesterday's conspiracies keep turning into today's realities. We can't bury our heads in the sand on what the push for 15-minute cities is all about. So yes, it's time to start talking about these things.
Canadian Shooting Sports Association. Without the CSSA, our gun rights would have been taken long ago. These guys are on the front lines helping to draft smart and intelligent firearms regulations and legislation in Canada, and more importantly, educating the public about how we keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people. To become a member, it's absolutely worth every penny. You can become a Western Standard member for just $10 a month or $99 a year for unlimited access.